Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm the Curriculum and Training Manager at thinkLaw. So, thinkLaw is an educational company that was founded by a guy that was teaching during the day and going to law school at night. And what he'll tell you about law school is it wasn't so much that he was learning about the law as he was learning how to think. And he was learning different approaches and different strategies and different critical thinking components. And so, as he had his feet in both worlds, he was like, why are we not teaching these types of thinking, these types of strategies to all students? Because it's not just the students who are interested in law or who want to be attorneys who need these kinds of skills. And so at thinkLaw, that's what we do. We take these critical thinking strategies used in law school and break them down to be age appropriate for students in K through 12. So a lot of times in a lot of our lessons, we do use really high interest, real life court cases to kind of grab students' attention and get them motivated to think a little deeper. So today I want to talk a little turkey with you because let's be honest, one of the greatest perks to teaching is that you have holidays off and that you have these breaks to spend with your family. But kind of the double-edged sword of that is then you have to survive the days before the break, which sometimes can get a little bit crazy. So what we wanted to do this Thanksgiving is provide you with a really easy, it's almost like a mini unit about persuasive writing, legal writing, that has to do with 5 real life cases involving Thanksgiving and turkey. So when we think about sort of the academic component, anytime we want our students to think, to form an argument, to write persuasively, there's a certain way of flow that we want their thought to go. So we want them to start by making a claim. We want them to support it with valid and relevant evidence. We want them to consider multiple perspectives. We want them to weigh the consequences, and we want them to draw conclusions based on those things. So the way that lawyers set up their argument and the way that we'll show your students how to do it is to use this framework called DRAAW C. So the students will be presented with a case, with a lawsuit, and they'll have an opportunity to kind of analyze the information. So what they decide when they start writing is number one, D, what's the decision? Who should win? The second thing is R is for rule. So what's the rule in this case? And that's something that we provide too. Like we'll talk about one of the cases has to do with negligence. So we explain what negligence is. Or one of the cases has to do with a woman choking. So there is a rule. And the rule about choking is that it has to be something that you wouldn't expect to find in your food. So like if I go to a restaurant and I order a hamburger, I don't expect to find like a pen lid in it. Like that would be a foreign object. So we explain the rules so the students state which rule would apply in this case. And then they're going to present the arguments for both sides. So don't worry. thinkLaw lessons are always very user-friendly. Anyone can pick them up and do them. So we will definitely make it very clear to yourself and your students who the plaintiff is, who the defendant is, so that you can be successful in this activity. One of the most important parts then is what impact is this decision going to have on the world? Because especially with the law, these court cases are not little islands or isolated things. Decisions in court cases affect the decisions in future cases. So if your decision was the decision selected by the court, what larger impact would that have on the world? And then they end with their conclusion. So just to kind of go through, if you purchase our product, each of these cases, it'll start out like this. So there's a sheet that has the basic facts of the case, and it'll give them a moment to sort of analyze what they think both sides will argue. Then it explains the DRAAW C framework. So what does it stand for? What does it mean? Then it gives them a space to brainstorm and pre-plan their thoughts, and they'll end by writing a cohesive paragraph. Each of these lessons is accompanied by a PowerPoint that has very thorough slides that will address all of the components in the lesson. The slide total for the whole package is 104 different slides. So there's definitely plenty of slides to support the lessons. So the 5 cases, just to give you a preview, the first one is called Choke on This, the first lesson, and it has to do with a woman in 1936 who went to a restaurant to eat Thanksgiving dinner. And while she was there, she started to choke on a bone found in her turkey breast. And so the other patrons had to help her, but she was very embarrassed. And so she also had a few medical fees and different things. So she sued for $36 because she didn't think the restaurant should have had a bone in the turkey breast, of all the horrors. So the next case is called Crash Course Thanksgiving, and it has to do, a woman was driving down the road and a very large turkey sort of meanders onto the road and flies up and smashes into her windshield. So her windshield shatters. She immediately puts on her hazards, slows down, goes to pull over, but the guy who was driving behind her sees this turkey weaving in the middle of the road and is distracted, and he rear ends her. So the man claimed, hey, not my fault. There's this bird. Of course I'm going to be distracted by it. But the woman sued him for crashing into her. The next case is shots fired. So a man is going out to hunt turkeys. He finds himself a position and he gets ready to go, and he hears a turkey call and sees a flash of red, so he shoots. But unfortunately, it was not a turkey. It was another hunter. So the hunter was okay. He just had some minor injuries, but he sued the first hunter for shooting him instead of a turkey. The next case is called MakeAWish. So this is a company that kind of thought of, and if you want to think of it as a problem, that most families on Thanksgiving only have one turkey, maybe two. But so they have one turkey, there's one wishbone per turkey, which means that only two people can participate in the fun little tradition of breaking the wishbone. So they started to create synthetic wishbones. So you can buy from them a pack of like 4 to 10 wishbones so that everybody in the family can have a chance to participate. So Sears started making identical synthetic wishbones and selling them in their stores. So the original company sued Sears and said, like, hey, this is our intellectual property, which brings up an interesting, discussion of it's a bone that's found in a bird, but the court actually did end up finding that they had made enough adjustments and it was original enough in the materials that it could be copyrighted. So Sears ended up having to pay a settlement of $1.7 million to the Wishbone Company. And then the last case, that wouldn't be the holidays if we didn't mention Walmart, has to do with a man who was shopping at Walmart, and he says that he was knocked unconscious by a frozen turkey. So those are the 5 cases. What's really great about this bundle, about this set, is that it's flexible to meet your needs. So if you have a group that just needs a little bit more help, you can go through all of them as a whole class activity. The PowerPoints accompany the worksheets. So you could have debates, you could work it out together, you could have a whole class discussion. You could use the 5 cases and split them up into small groups and assign each small group a different case that they could later present to the class. Or you could maybe just do one together so they could get the hang of it and then use them as individual assignments. You could present a summary of all of the cases and the students could pick the one that they were most interested in. It's definitely very flexible to meet the needs of your class. So, this holiday season, give yourself a break. Don't get stressed out by those last 2 days, because there are activities like this that will keep the rigor high and keep students engaged and keep everybody focused and working until it's time for actual break. So with that said, I hope that you enjoy your holidays and have a happy Thanksgiving.